done. But I wanted to get on here and talk about um miscarriage and a bit of an etiquette for miscarriage, along with fertility issues that may come about, things that you may or may have not known, and yeah, just all of that childbearing stuff. So I'm going to be as transparent in this video as I can. But first off, let's get started on rainbow babies. I've been seeing the posts going around. I actually shared a post months ago about rainbow babies, and I realized that my twins were rainbow babies. Ooh. And it shed a lot of light on the way that I parented. It shed a lot of light on the mental state of a person while they're pregnant, because a rainbow baby is when you have lost the baby, miscarriage, stillborn, or something where the baby isn't here, however you were pregnant, that type of situation. So my first daughter, I had passed. A lot of people know that. I hate to beat that into some people's head if you didn't. But yeah, she passed, 10 days old, yada yada yada. Don't want to get too deep into that. And my next set of twins was 4 years after. I was paranoid, terrified. I had no attachment to my kids whatsoever within the first 2 years or so, which hurts my heart to say because that's really fucked up and people would have never known. But my basic instinct was, don't get attached, they gonna die soon. Don't every little moment that they eat, it's a enormous anxiety of trying to deal with. So afterwards, of course, they lived. And then at that point, it's like, whoa, okay, they didn't die. Now I have to stop going through the motions of loving them and actually, not actually love them, but actually bond and connect that love with that being. And that has even still been a very big struggle for me, because I don't know how to transition into that. I don't know any support groups or people that went through it themselves to be able to understand what actually I could. I don't have a mentor on that other side to be like, oh honey, you're gonna be fine, it's normal, like it takes time, here's some tools, so that relationship has already been strained. And right now I'm honestly thinking about going to counseling with the both of them and me because of the situation, because I'm a Black person and mental health is top priority with the situations that I have been through, and then the diagnosis that I have had in the past. So I definitely want to explore that with them and myself so that we can become better and stronger as a family. So with this certain set of circumstances, my kids don't know anything. They don't know about either one of my pregnancies. My daughter, she's psychic. I don't know how she's psychic. She's psychic. She can tell me when I'm pregnant. She's told me all 3 times when I'm pregnant. She's just, oh mommy, it's a baby in your belly. Oh mommy, I really want a brother or sister. I'm ready for a sibling. And it's only those 3 times. It's never around a time. This is before I even take a test. So it's just ironic. It's like, if you're feeling queasy or you're feeling unsteady or you're like, maybe I could be, and then your daughter pops up and like, mommy, you pregnant, in so many little 5-year-old kid words. I'm like, shit, okay. So going through that, it was very hard to accept the first 2 times. It's like, she talking And then it's like, okay, damn, I'm pregnant. I don't want to tell anybody. This isn't the right time. What am I exactly going to do? I'm completely pro-choice. However, would I do it for myself? That is not an option. So it's like, will I raise them or do I give them away? And then I'm like, oh my God, I don't want somebody to come and haunt me 40 years later. Like, you stupid bitch, you gave me fucking ADHD and bipolar disorder and all kind of irritable bowel syndrome type, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm like, bitch, I'm sorry. I don't know. Like, I don't want that to happen to me. So, coming to find out after we got everything looked at, it was an unviable pregnancy. So we had to get that removed. I got DNC, and the DNC didn't work. It rejected. They didn't do everything. So I was laying into a bed for hairless, and I was actually having labor. I was still having big ass, I was still passing everything. Sorry, I'm trying to make this clean, but I cuss and I say very gory shit. So yeah, but I was just like, everything hadn't passed out, even though I had the surgery. Had to go back to the hospital for an extremely high blood pressure, like I was about to be out of here. And I know a lot of people say that, but unless it's happened to you, that is the scariest moment in your life, to have people rushing around you, pumping you with shit, putting shit in you, like all in the sake of making sure you're stable. Like, that is that's crazy. Especially at the time, I didn't have anybody to take me to the hospital. Like, I had to beg for a ride. Like, I didn't have anybody to call on, which was so unusual for me, because it's like, hey, what you doing? Oh, girl, I'm busy. I'm over there. And it's like, of course, if I would told them, well, hey, like, I'm about to die, drop everything. Yeah, but it's my anxiety is just like, oh, you doing something, girl? I'll be okay. And, oh, it can wait. And then, meanwhile, I'm sitting here with my fiance, like, oh my God, Charles, like, leave work now. Like, I'm about to die. And like, I can't leave work. We don't have overtime. I don't have time. We have overtime. It's mandatory. And having jobs like this sucks. But anywho, I got my mom to take me to the hospital. And by that time, it was like almost checkout time. I was in and out of consciousness. They finally got me stable. It took hella morphine to get my pain down and to get me manageable. And then they sent me home with ibuprofen and expected me to just pass the rest of the shit on my own, which I did. It was a very horrifying experience, and the amount of blood that comes out when something like that happens is nothing short of a Freddy Krueger show. But even still, so with this time around and just kind of healing from that, that was a very hard time in my life. My granddad just passed. The last thing I told him was, hey, I'm pregnant. And then, like, a cute couple of, maybe a week or so later, it's like, he's no more. And then a few weeks after his funeral is when I found out baby was no more. By the 1st of January, it was over with. I pushed it out. It was at home. I didn't have to go through surgery. I was, even in the circumstances, very proud of myself, because in my past pregnancies, my cervix wouldn't open at all, and to pass something as big as it was relieving. That, like, yes, when I get another baby, I could actually do this natural. It's a possibility. I'm so elated. I'm so happy for this moment, even though it was a very sad moment in itself. So I decided to take it and bury it myself, and just kind of do the whole ceremony that you would do, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I did it in confidence with just me and my husband. And this time around, I'm just like terrified out of my mind, like I'm pregnant. Immediately called the doctor, immediately like on it, because I was terrified. I wanted to make sure that if I was blessed to get pregnant again, that third time's the charm. Like, we gotta have this one. This is not even that this was all planned and we were trying. It's just, I believe that if you get pregnant, you get pregnant. If you don't, whoop-de-doo. We've been a whole year without getting pregnant, and before that it was even more years without getting pregnant. So if it happens, then it should be there. And just being able to, like, yeah, we pregnant. Okay, let's call the doctor, make sure we get everything together. Let's make sure it's something in there, because I was going to a cruise to Bahamas, and I'm like, if it's nothing in there, I'd be devastated. But at least I would be devastated with a whole lot of alcohol, which that sounds very bad and self-sabotaging, but at the moment, probably wouldn't care. So, I still waited till after, and the Tuesday I got back, ultrasound day, there is nothing. Like, if you can imagine this hole without my face, you see that empty space? That was the equivalent of what it was. It was just a sack. Nothing in it, no veins, no hair, no nothing. And then a lot of people were, oh, well, maybe it's too early. My homegirl went, and then she went back 2 weeks later, and it was something in there. And I'm like, well, most of y'all that know me, I live by my period. I know my period. So the fact that I knew that I was off on a certain date, well, I came on a certain date, the very date that I missed my period is when I got a positive pregnancy test. So because of the whole counting to ovulations, counting your ovulations weeks before your actually conception date makes you a month pregnant when you find out on your missed period. Well, if you go on an ultrasound, and those 2 weeks don't count, because it's going to measure from the time of implantation up until it's growing. So of course I was 2 weeks later than what they thought, but even with those 2 weeks, it would have been 6 weeks, and you could have seen something. It wouldn't have been the biggest little something, but it would have been a hankering of maybe a little flutter, or something that's like a little mass, or maybe even looks like a little piece of sperm. It would have been something in there. For this to have been growing, especially to the size it was, and have nothing in there, I'm like crying. I'm like, fuck again. So I text my fiance, and told him. I didn't tell him anything. I just sent him the picture, and he was like, there's nothing there. And I was like, I know. So, of course, doctors, they want to draw everything out. I had to wait 2 weeks and get blood work for 2 days to make sure that it wasn't a viable pregnancy. Did that. And then, went back the next day. It's not a viable pregnancy. What do you want to do? Do you want to push it out? Do you want to get a surgery? And I, of course, opted to push it out, because when I had a surgery, like I said before, I still had to end up pushing majority of the stuff out on my own. Last year when I had to do the same thing, I ended up pushing the shit out on my own, and it was the same. So I'm like, well, now I know what to expect. I don't have to do any guesswork. When it comes out, it comes out. So I opted for that. I did wait a few days. So I got it Friday. I stalled off all Saturday until Saturday night, and I took it last night for now, but Saturday night. And what it is they give you 4 pills, and you could imagine a vagina inside of a cervix, and then all of this right here is the vagina. Y'all get it, right? You have to take and insert the pills under and over into the sides. So north, south, east, and west of the circumference of your cervix. Got those in, and within 30 minutes, actually 10 minutes, I started feeling like cramping, like, oh, I'm about to come on my period. And then it's like, okay, about 30 minutes later, you're like, oh, I'm on my period. And then after probably about an hour, you're like, that first part of labor when you're uncomfortable and you're shaking and you're like trying to be cool because your friend's there, everybody laughing, and you like, ooh, and then you start getting in the weird positions, and your friend like, okay, I'm finna go. I ain't finna do all that. And understandable, that is a very private and sacred moment. Everybody doesn't need to be there when you do things of that nature. I really debated on having a doula help me through this process, but with the way my money was set up, and then trying to do a wedding, and then taxes due, like for our other house, and then it's just too much. I couldn't afford it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna thug it out the way I normally have to thug it out. And yeah, that medicine is excruciating painful. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Just like twins, it is a bitch. It's not like regular labor at all. Not like regular labor at all. It is like labor on steroids, because in labor you're able to progress. With this, where you would take hours to progress, this is happening within moments, maybe 15-minute increments. You're in Braxton Hicks, where you're like, eh. Then in the next couple of moments, you're in like, okay, labor. And then the next moment, you're like clenching stuff, ready to hit stuff, not being able to do anything, trying not to scream. Even as a doula, it is hard to try to keep your mind focused, especially when you don't have a person there that knows what they're doing and know how to do it, and know those different triggers, pressure points where you're like in way too much pain to be like, yeah, babe, just push right here, and then they're not getting it, and it's like, oh my God, just fucking stop touching me. Even though they're trying their very best. But it's crazy. And I think that even if you have a miscarriage, you should have a doula. Try to look around, maybe see if somebody will work with you on doing this. It is a task to do by yourself, or to do with a partner that is inexperienced or untrained in that area. So yeah, that was that. Everything passed. I was back and forth into the tub, and with knee compressions, hip compressions, like wiggling, doing yoga poses every now and again. It was not delightful at all, and to the point where the doctors, they don't give you pain medicine for this. This is not a Vicodin, hydrocodone. This is here you go, your pills, and good fucking luck. So yeah, I didn't have anything. I had nothing. And now I actually have something, because I was able to get to the doctor's exchange. Why I'm so a little bit loopy right now. So yeah, it's still going on. Like as I'm talking, I feel a whole lot milder cramps, but I know they're doing like amazing job right now, even though I can't feel it. Another thing I wanted to talk about, I had a few news. Now that we got all of that out the way, why did this happen? How did this happen? Why is this not talked about with women, or why do we have to be silenced or not not in the forefront about miscarriages and infertility and everything? Because I never thought I had an infertility program. I got pregnant with one baby. I got pregnant with two babies at one time, and then After that, it's like miscarriage, miscarriage, miscarriage. What is what causes that? What's the reason? I don't fucking know. I'm researching it because doctors leave you so open-ended, and they're so vague in their questions. So vague in their answers when you question them. Basically, when you have two people and y'all make whoopee, and you end up having to fertilize eggs first. A lot of people, y'all know this. Well, the fertilized egg has to, of course, get fertilized, and then the eggs multiply. Well, as these eggs are multiplying, they're deciding what chromosomes, what nose they're going to have. They're going to have more of their daddy nose. It's like God's pick and choose. You know how we like, oh, I stand in the ass line too long. I should have stand in the titty line. God had me. Like, this is literally the lines that God is like handing you out. If that makes sense, or universe, or whatever fuck you into, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, the chromosomes have to figure out what's going to be what's going to match, what's going to make the perfect human being to pass through this earth. And sometimes they don't match up. And that's the best way to explain it. Either his so-and-so don't match with your so-and-so, and we can't physically put these puzzles together, that is chromosomes, to make a whole baby to start growing and flourishing, and then be, the treacherous person that comes and annoy you for the rest of your life. Or not. Just a joke. Are you cooking something? Charles, are you cooking something? Sorry. So, yeah, that's why that happened. Why did it happen consecutively? I don't know. We've had two completely healthy children that are alive. We had a successful pregnancy that later ended up being a virus, which was, quote, blanket, something that they couldn't did about it. I don't trust that at all, because there was a lot of cover-ups when I had my first daughter, and being 19, devastated, you really don't know what to do other than try to pick up your life and keep it moving. And which brings me to another point, like picking up my life and consistently moving. This has happened 3 times, and I just picked up my life and moved the fuck on. Like nothing happened. And this time I'm struggling to do the same thing. I have so many thoughts and ambitions and things that I want to do and things that I want to complete, that I want to continue. And I am stuck in this moment of, I don't want to say self-pity, but of just no motivation. Like, I don't have any motivation to do anything. I have made like 12 canvas pictures, of stuff that I want to do, or stuff that I want to, or getting organized, things that I've already been putting so much work in within these past couple of years. And it's like, I don't even want to start. I don't want to do none of this. I don't want to do any of this. Like, getting up and doing yoga is hard. Getting up and doing anything is hard. Getting up and taking a shower is hard. And if I really didn't have anybody here to be like, look, it's time to take a shower, probably wouldn't. And that sounds disgusting, but that's depression. And people don't realize postpartum depression is a very, very real thing. It's very real. I've had it with my twins. I've had it with these few pregnancies, and I didn't even realize that just getting up and picking up and not even thinking about it, putting it in the back of your head, it is a part of postpartum depression. It is dissociating with yourself, or detaching yourself with something that definitely happened to you and can end up manifesting itself later in life. And at this point, I feel like All of those things, a lot of traumas, especially ones that don't have anything to do with what I'm talking about, coming up and coming out at this time, it's hard. It's hard to keep yourself motivated. It's hard to keep yourself friendly. It's hard to keep yourself from, it's hard putting on the face for people that ask, people that say, I'm call me when you need me, I'm here for you. And I know that mean that from the very bottom and genuine of their heart. But in all honesty, if I called you 12 times a day crying in your ear, oh my God, I just can't get life together, I'm gonna kill myself, I just can't do it anymore, you gonna stop answering your fucking phone. Like, this bitch, I'm not dealing with her today. Like, I'm on a good vibe and I can't keep letting her. So yeah, that's hard. And you know, me being a person that knows from my very first experience having my child that people don't care. People say they care. Some people actually genuinely care. But to be in a rut like that and not be able to get out of a rut, and it can be days, it can be weeks, it can be months. Nobody's going to want to hear your story over and over again, especially when you get to the point where it's like, I know what I need to do. I know what I should do, but you're giving me advice, but not giving me that upper hand. You're not giving me that hand like, hey, let's go to the park and walk. Hey, let's just get you out the house for a minute. Let's just talk. Let's just go somewhere and you ain't even gotta talk. We ain't gotta talk about nothing. We can literally just be silent, like a Jill Scott song. Like, some of that would probably be the most healing therapy, just to know that you're not alone and you don't have to speak unless you want to. And it's not about reaching out to people. People always want to reach out to, let me know, girl, if you need something, I'm here for you. Let's get away from that. Because we don't know what to ask for. People that are in situations like this don't know what to ask for, whether it be losing a baby, whether it be losing the idea of a baby, whether it be miscarriage, whether it even be abortion. If you're into that kind of thing, I am so unbiased. I don't give a fuck what you into. Like, even those, because you don't know why that person did what they did, even those need that support, even if it's just, girl, I'm finna sit on your couch and watch Dreamgirls. And if you cry 1,000 times, I'll hand you 1,000 tissues and a bag of flaming hot Cheetos, and then I'll compliment it with some watermelon so we can be balanced. You know? Like, it don't take much. It don't take much. And another thing, if I'm going all off subject, forgive me. But another thing, let's get away from telling people our miscarriage, pregnancy stories, and things like that when these women are going through. Because unless it's asked for, they're still trying to process their own thing. They're still trying to process that they was pregnant, and that was an adjustment in their life that they had to, like, they had to get themselves together. Like, they had to, okay, it's gonna be a baby. And when you older, like me personally, I'm 29. Being 20 when I had my first kid, or 19 when I got pregnant, I wasn't caring about, oh, it's just 9 months. I'm like, damn, I'm finna have to have this baby for 9 months. Damn, I'm sick of this shit. Like, versus being pregnant at almost 30 now, it's like, I gotta pay taxes. That's twice, this year. I gotta pay my car, what's the thing, registration. That's gonna be coming around right when the baby due, so I'm gonna have to save that extra $100, $120, because I'm always late. And then you got insurance for the car. You pay that twice a year. Some of y'all pay that once a month. Like, all of your regular shit. And then trying to big in pieces and try to get a a network, and all of this is happening within your first trimester. As soon as you're like, I'm pregnant, it's like go mode. Like straight up. Like I have a book. A lot of people know I'm a big on journaling, but like I have a book set of like goals from like when I found out. It's like, okay, by this deadline, I need to have a doctor's appointment. I need to have a ultrasound, like by this time I need to make sure the tax is paid. So when I do this and when I do this, that by the time May come, I ain't got to do this. And just organizing your life. And then you spend, me personally, I really wanted to go public with my pregnancy, especially being yoga, being pregnant, the stuff that I was doing for fitness. I had started getting a whole curriculum together, even for me to live it, but to offer this to doula patients like, hey, I live this shit. Like, this is what I did. This is how I balanced my hormones. This is how I kept up with this. It was the idea of it crushed me. Like, it crushed my soul to have to do all this work and then it be snatched away from me. The idea of me being pregnant, being growing, having all of those motherly feelings back. Like, I wasn't mad at morning sickness because that meant I was still pregnant. Like, I wasn't mad at my boobs swelling up 10 times. Meanwhile, like, they flat again. Like, I wasn't mad at any of it. I was elated for every bit, every moment of it, because it confirmed that this one gonna make it. This one gonna be what it's gonna be. We gonna be good. And to have that idea crushed, dreamed, and burned, and then you're at the point where you're like, I have to redo everything that I did. I have to redo all that work. I have to reset my intentions, even though I did not take the medication to help me pass everything until Saturday night. So almost 24 hours from now. And when I took it, I just was like, this is the end. Like this is it. Like, this is it. And it's like, what's going to happen now? What's going to be at the end of this? Like, I got to redo everything. And it's like, I have to redo my diet plan that I was on. I have to go back to what I was doing. But then it's the whole postpartum care. Like, now it's like, what do I do for postpartum? I could definitely rattle this off to a client and have a whole regimen and all this. But it's like, where do I start with me? Because I know too much about me to say, okay, look, well, we're going to give you a couple of herb baths, for the first 6 weeks or for the first 3 weeks, what have you. Look, I ain't got no science to this shit as of now. But like what do I do for me? If I was a client for you or for somebody else, knowing your body type, keeping up with your pregnancy, knowing this, it's like, okay, well, I know that you didn't tear. I know that you didn't do this. So therefore we can use this, this, and this. But with me, there's no guidelines. There's no rules. It's just like, oh yeah, I did have that one thing. And then you start overthinking things and then you start thinking of everything. And it's so hard to get that regimen and redo that shit for yourself. So I think I covered everything. I would want to know I covered everything in my little book. Shout out to me being like on a doula live. Like, this is something that I strive for every month, to be on a live and speaking about doula work, speaking about weight loss or something, just in my context, even yoga. Here we go. Yes, don't give false optimism when you are going through, when a person is going through a miscarriage. Don't give out false optimism, because a woman knows her body. And some women just listen to the doctors, granted. But a person knows when they're no longer pregnant. A person knows when it's not going to happen, when it's already over. You know, giving out a suggestive hand of help is awesome. But if you know anything, that's not going to help. They're not going to feel like, me personally, I'm not going to feel like calling you saying, girl, oh my God, I'm about to kill myself. And I say that shit 6 times out the day. Like, eventually the shit gets old, like the boy cry wolf. When it's actually a real cry of like, you'll be stuck in a house alone by yourselves. A lot of people have weapons now. I'm not saying I'm gonna blow my head off, but a lot of people have weapons now, and those look really good when you're going through pain. Pills, anything that you can get your hands on to temporarily take the pain away is an option. It's a real option. And you giving people false optimism, and then they go through the exact same thing. They low-key resent you. They're like, you said it was gonna be okay, and then all you got to say is, well, it was the Lord's will, baby. That shit don't feel good. That shit don't feel good. Saying, don't tell people about your own experience. Do not tell people about your own experience. If they are in the middle of going through a miscarriage, unless they ask you for advice on how things went, unless they ask you, was it a lot of blood? Was it this blood? Like, unless they ask you about your experience, don't give them your experience unless they ask for it. Because the one thing, laws of Maya, I don't know how many y'all follow. It's a Egyptian version of the 10 Commandments, and that's as far as I'm gonna go into it. Sue me later for all of my spiritual folks that got more information, and I ain't going there with this. But it says relate in peace, and one way to relate in peace is, I'm sorry for your loss. Send flowers, empathize, not sympathize. Empathize with that person. Put yourself in that person's shoes. If you know what it been like, put yourself in that person's shoes and say, if I couldn't have shit else when I was going through this shit, I would have at least had somebody to just drop me off a meal instead of asking me what I ate. A person is like, come on, girl, what you been doing? I'm laying in the bed all day. I'm finna come over here and we gonna play a little music, girl. I'm gonna pick you out an outfit and we gonna get you together. Y'all ain't even gotta go nowhere. Just somebody to just push you, move you, motivate you. Because at times you can't motivate yourself. Instead of saying, if you need anything, baby, I got you. Personally, I don't know what I need. And with a million things running in your head, trying to pick up the pieces back to your life, it's hard. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off with a couple of more things that I had. Offer a distraction. Offer any kind of distraction, whether it be come over, watch move, dream girls. You don't feel like in the house? I'm crashing your house anyway, bitch. I'm bringing moon. I'm bringing this. If you ain't on antibiotics, I'm bring you a glass of wine. We'll have some chicken wings. We're going to bring you up out of this. We're going to have a good time. Even if you just sit there and look stupid and I'm turned the fuck up. It's okay. Bring positive vibes into that house, into that space, into her space. Don't forget about the partner. He went through something too. I know how females feel about they friends talking to their baby daddies or whatever, but homeboys, if you heard that your dude girl lost a baby, he lost a baby too. And you should be conscious of that. Check up on them. Make sure you're okay. I know how y'all dudes do that whole thing. You good? You good? Yeah, you good. Come smoke a blunt with me. Let me come smoke a blunt with you. Let me chill. Let's go watch a game. Let me get you out the house. Is she good? Let's get y'all out the house. Care. Actually care. Another thing is, if a person doesn't, I'm a doula. I said that like 6 times because I'm proud, y'all. But even though I'm a doula, if I make a huge post, which I'm a very private person on my social media, if I make a post of bringing awareness to something that I never heard of, that I don't have a lot of people talk about, that's all cool and dandy, but like, I forgot where I was going with this. Don't insert your story. Don't insert your story at all. I might have said that before. Don't insert your story. Don't ask a lot of questions. Don't act. This is where I was going, and I'm sorry if I took a minute. Don't come telling me your doula problems. Don't tell me your doula problems. If your baby got jaundice, if your baby has colic, if any of those things come up or arise, how do I throw myself in labor? How do I, get rid of morning sickness? All of these things, hire me. Because if you hire me, then I'll know, hey, baby, I'm not in the greatest place right now mentally to give my best to you and not offend you, because I still got stuff going on in me that I need to heal from. But I do have a doula sister that is amazing, and I highly recommend her, and she can help you with anything that you need until I am well, or even thus for if you like her better. I'm never that person, but I'm going to make sure, 100% sure, if I'm doing something, I'm giving you my best. I'm giving you my absolute best. Check in with people. Not just the, hey girl, how you doing? How the doctor's appointment go? Knock on that bitch. Damn, you your best friend. What you doing? Don't be afraid to knock on people's door. Don't be afraid to call them 1,000 times. Don't be afraid to send them inspirational memes without it being a tearjerker. Funny things. Even if they don't laugh at the shit now, they might turn it on 6 hours later and laugh at the shit then. Don't get offended by what people say. People in pain will say all kinds of shit. I have told a best friend I could raise her kids better than she could, because I was in a very hurt place when I lost my first daughter. And for people to say the things that they say when they venting, it makes you mad. Like, I could have had my daughter, girl, you just being so great. And you can say that all in your head, and then something slips out and it comes out wrong. Keep yourself checked. And if you can't do that at all, I don't want to say don't reach out, but at the same time, know your limit. But make sure, if that's your friend, if that's your associate, that's your confidant, that's your whatever, a person that you genuinely care about, make sure they good. Because they can be sitting on the phone laughing, girl, yeah, I'm good. Don't even worry about it. They'll tell you about doctor's appointments. They'll tell you about pills. They'll tell you about how they feeling. Because they know that you don't want to hear that dark shit that's really going on in their head. They don't want to disturb you with the shit that's going on in their head, because it is something crazy. And with me dealing with mental issues already, and being that I have tried to commit suicide several times, I can tell you being suicidal is just like being a drug addict, a reformed drug addict. It's not that you don't think about the shit. It's not that you don't think about how that might feel. It's a thing that, like, you consistently battle. It's a consistent battle of not doing it. It's not a consistent battle of of I'm healed, I'm not suicidal anymore. It's going to be flare-ups, just like people that are drug addicts have binges, even though they've been off whatever their substance was for 20 years. All of a sudden they might have a binger for a whole fucking month and then be 20 years good. It's the same thing. You can be good for months, you can be good for years, and it can be just that one trigger that will set you off to the point where you just can't take it anymore. And those are the times that you need your friends the most, but you can't ask nobody for help. So with that, I think I done hit every point. If you want to send people, kind words, inspirational posts, not that pushy inspirational posts, but just a real heartfelt inspirational post that you thought of, like, homegirl, I was thinking about you today. Or if you had a dream about that person, let that person know it's gonna be okay. God talks through dreams. And if anything of that sort come up about that person, even a daydream that something gonna be okay, or that this is gonna be better, or even if, I don't want to say lie, because lying is not the answer. Don't lie to them, because that's false hope. But anything that comes up about that person, actually pray for that person when you're going to say you pray for that person. Don't just, oh God, thank you, Jesus. I wanted to pray for everybody that was going through some stuff. Amen. Pray for that person personally. Hey, God, I know LaQuisha just been through so much, and I just ask you to lift a burden off of her. I just ask you to protect her. Send your angels. You know how to pray, all that praying stuff. And I know that sounds weird coming from me, because I'm, all kooky crazy when it comes to spirituality and religion. Let me see if I have anything. Offer to come do a service. Offer to come do, even if it's light housework. If a mom got several other kids and she's still dealing with that, it's summer break. Ask them if they need help. Let's take the kids to the splash pad, girl. You ain't even gotta go. You can just sit here. Girl, your kitchen a mess. Just let me clean it up for you. Let's just something. Give those gestures. Don't post about the shit and ask 50 million fucking questions about what's going on, what happened, why it keep happening, why and oh, I had the same thing, and Let that woman grieve. When she is ready, or she knows how, or she will explain it to you, to the whole world, like I'm trying to do, she'll let you know. I'm not saying completely cut this woman off, but check in, pop up, make sure you're keeping in contact for real. Like, for real. Come over and just be silent. Come over and tell a girl it ain't no burden if you want to go in there and go to sleep and not chill right here. Because sometimes you just need another body there to make sure you don't fuck your own body up. Not at all saying that I'm suicidal. I'm just saying I have been through this enough time so that I'm able to speak about it, and I really hope that this helps somebody or anybody or something. I pray that this reaches everybody. So I am Miss Ladiness, well, aka Lady Majesty, aka Miss Lovely, aka Bernicia Dantone, aka all of that shit. You can follow me, all that stuff. I'll leave my tags below. I got people like straight inboxing the hell out of me during this whole hour. But I love y'all. Peace, blessings, and take care of you.